So they don't really use wands, but they speak spells, and that works.
I mean, you could do that because real witches do sometimes have cauldrons on their altars, but it's more like a holder for shit. You could totally just use a bowl, right? Actually, that's a pretty legit form of magic. Adding shit and then
I'll show you what I mean.
Speaking at it. Spoken word is pretty powerful, but a lot of movies tend to act like it has to rhyme or it has to be spoken a certain way. Not really. I mean, sometimes if you have a spell and it rhymes, sometimes that's nice, right? Like that's
it's
just
aesthetically pleasing.
It's aesthetically pleasing. It works well for some people. Sometimes, like when we were doing the jars today, we were just like, you little sponge, you represent the fact that you will help me retain knowledge. Because of you, sponge, I will retain the knowledge. Now get in the fucking jar. That is just as valid.
There's no poetic spell for what we did.
Yeah. I mean, I could have made one up. If I really, really wanted to, I could have done a poetic spell. If I really, really wanted to, I could have done a poetic spell in Latin. Do I need to do a poetic spell in Latin? Not really.
It just sounds cool.
It would just sound badass. Now, I mean, there are some people who will pick up a secondary language, i.e. Latin, or like something like that, or have a certain set of clothes that they only wear when they're doing magic, i.e. like robe, or will light candles, because candle magic's a whole different thing, or sometimes the ambiance, because there's a lot to be said for putting yourself in an environment that makes you feel magically powerful. But again, it's symbolism, right? It's like, I feel like I am... If you feel like you are most in tune with the energies of this universe by putting on a robe, lighting 80,000 candles, hovering over a cauldron, and speaking in Latin rhymes, that's valid, right?
Or on the flip side, if you also feel that connection while you're out and in nature, and you don't really need all of that, you just need to be there.
Yeah, that's valid too. For instance, I have done some sick-ass magic with a metal spoon in, like, vigorously beating the shit out of batter in my kitchen. Yes.
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 Yes, she has.
Yes, I
She's
have.
also done it with a plastic spoon.
Yes, I have.
And a face.
Plastic spoon and a Sharpie, not a real face.
No. She drew a face on the spoon, put it in a jar, and shook the shit out of it.
It's a jar spell. That's a whole long-ass story. I do believe in cursing for certain things, but there's like a line that you have to cross, right? Because I also do believe that the kind of mojo that you send out into the universe comes back to you unless...
Karma.
It's not really karma. Karma is a really misused word. But, yeah. It's more like the law of return is what it's technically called. But the idea is that...
What goes around comes around.
Yeah, what goes around comes around, right? Karma has been really abused by Western societies. But anyways, next week we'll talk about karma. Anyways, no. But so the law of return is basically like you send out positive energy will come back to you. So that negative energy will usually come back to you. However, if somebody is truly, truly shitty and you're just kind of helping the universe give them their comeuppance, then I think it's okay. Because there comes a point where it's more like retribution. Like, you are owed your comeuppance, and then it's okay. But there's a line people have to cross. Like,
it's a very thick line.
Cursing someone because they took your pencil and, like, when you were in 4th grade and you're just kind of pissy about it, probably not a good thing. Cursing somebody who is like, I don't know, what's something I've cursed somebody? Okay, but like, if somebody is taking like every single piece of dishware you fucking own and hiding it somewhere, and then you go to cook and you have nothing to cook with because your roommate's a shit, that's okay.
What about if they took your boyfriend?
No. People cannot leave unless they choose to leave.
The only reason I ask is because there's a lot of females who think that it is a valid reason to curse somebody if they steal your boyfriend.
Nope. People can only leave if they choose to leave. Boyfriends cannot be stolen.
A real man won't walk away. If he really loves you, he will stay.
Yeah. Sorry, your homie, your significant other was not stolen. He up and left you. That's unfortunate, but that's what he chose to do. Mm-hmm. You know. Yeah. Plus, you really use magic. Speaking of magic, love spells, bad. You are fucking around with free will, and it's kind of like, I want you to love me and get into my bed so we can do things.
I know what
Love
you're saying.
magic is tantamount to slipping them a goddamn rape drug, okay? Somebody is different. Love magic is specifically using magic to... No.
No? Okay.
Love is specifically using magic to invoke loving feelings in the target. Like,
okay.
I want you to be my boyfriend, therefore you will be my boyfriend. I want you to love me, therefore
okay.
I will produce loving feelings in you for me.
Okay.
Or, I want you to find me sexually appealing, right? Love magic is tampering with other people's free will and is bad and should be left alone.
Okay.
In PSA. But, what else, generally speaking, about magic?
I don't know.
Also, when it comes to just magic in general, because you brought this up when you were talking about, what if I'm sending you things because I think you need it, right? You really should not do magic for other people without their consent, right? Just because certain people, their personal beliefs or religion or comfortability might be like, don't magic me. Magic is against my religion.
Well, no, I was asking your opinion on the sending of
Yeah, no, that's
things.
fine. But no, general PSA to the public, PSA number 3, right? If your Christian friend has a thing against magic, and you're sitting there going, but Jimmy's gonna fail his test, and I should do a study spell for him to help him not fail his test, even though I know he's Christian and that magic is against his religion and it will piss him off. Don't do it, okay? Like...
It's a sign of respect not to
to
tamper.
I mean, you have to think of it like this, right? Reasons why you should not just magically roll up on Jimmy with your magic and be like, ooh, pass your test. Because if your friend's Catholic and you're not Catholic, I would hope to God that you don't expect Jimmy to just come over to your house and start, like, praying the rosary really loudly while you're trying to sleep. Right? Because that'd be rude as fuck. Right? Right? Especially if they're praying the rosary at you because you're like, dude, I ain't even Catholic. Why do you want me to pray the rosary with you? Like, what the fuck?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, you know? Respect your friends' religions. Ask permission. Always ask permission. And although cursing is a different thing entirely, because cursing does not involve permission. Cursing involves retribution and comeuppance, but it is something that you should not do lightly. Ever. Also, you probably shouldn't make that your very first attempt at magic ever, because I question what you're doing if your only reason for getting involved in magic is to fuck people over.
Personally, I like the fun spells.
Yeah. So do I.
I've seen you do a couple dark ones, and they're scary.
They're not really dark, they're just a little bit more...
They're dark for me.
Heavy. But, again, it's a necessity thing. It's sometimes you need to do shit. Sometimes you need to take some magical precautions to defend yourself against other people's BS. Right? It's like that phrase, do no harm but take no shit. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But, you're getting tired, Teddy. Aw, poor Teddy. Teddy's sleepy. Teddy can't hang with the rest of us.
My pain is making me sleepy.
Oh, poor Teddy. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Not for today.
Well, I did promise you guys more music, so...
We promised to play you more next week.
Yeah, actually... I don't know if I actually want to play either of the songs I have queued up. So, magic, witchcraft, things.
Next week's agenda.
Next week's agenda. Yeah, you know what? We'll just jump straight into the last segment of the wrap-up, because I think I'm done talking about the basics of magic, and in the future, I will get more into kinds.
We will pick a subtopic within the witchcraft to tell you every week.
Yeah.
And it most likely it will have to do with anything that Nani has been teaching me that day.
Probably.
The same with the religion thing. Whatever we tend to talk about, we will also talk about with you.
Yeah, probably. But,
so,
tentatively speaking, next week,
I think one of our topics should be the misuse of karma.
Yeah. So.
Because I'm extremely interested.
Yeah. So as far as, mind you, like I said, generally we're going to do this in 4 segments, and this is segment 4, so generally 4 segments. Segment 1, as usual, is mostly just us yelling at you and going, hey, we exist, and news, which is whatever, and music. You will get so much music in segment 1. So, segment 2, topic 1, probably, how are we abusing karma? Mm-hmm. Because Western societies, karma, abuse.
We will also start with the popular way that karma is being referred to before we go into how we're abusing it.
Yeah. So,
just so we're all on the same page.
We'll all be factual about the karma, because I think that's something that is really misunderstood in Western culture. Topic 2, Teddy.
Spring break.
Spring break. What are we doing with it? You will find out.
You will find out how we are actually spending our spring break.
Woo! And then, so that's all of segment 2. There will be more music, because music is great, unless we run out of time, like we did this time, where the religion and witchcraft segments got like no music because
the religion and witchcraft sections will probably hardly ever have music because there's just so much to talk about.
Yeah.
However, if we find songs that actually prove a point and or go with what we are talking about, we will play it.
Or if I run out of things to say, start busting a stitch because I'm laughing too hard at Teddy, or can't breathe, Teddy decides to have another injury or some shit, we will play music randomly. It might have nothing to do with what's going on, but we always have music cued.
The funs of a live radio show.
Yeah. So, as far as religion next time, I know I talked a lot generally about my deities and what I believe. I will probably explain general practice, such as offerings and whatnot, because
and I will also update you on the research that I'm going to do into my own personal heritage.
Yep. So there's that. And then as far as magic, we're going to talk about magical tools.
Okay.
That Naughty personally has.
Sounds good to me.
Because I think that's really good for you to understand how I personally do magic. So, that happens. And then we'll play a shit ton of music in segment 4 and
do the same thing we're doing right now.
Right? Although, hopefully we'll actually have this discussed beforehand, what we're doing for the next week.
We will.
So we're not plotting it on air, but today was a day of figuring it the fuck out.
Yeah.
Also, next week, we do not intend to leave for a food break in the middle, I promise. Except I don't promise, because God only knows what me and Teddy are going to do at any given point of our lives.
Right now, we're flying by the seat of our pants.
We're always flying by the seat of our pants, my darling.
Not always. Sometimes we have a schedule.
Never.
School classes. Classes, work, schedule.
Classes are a suggestion.
We will also keep you updated on any and all things that happen with our teachers if it sounds like fun.
Yeah, or is relevant.
Or is relevant.
God, you guys would have loved it last semester. I had so much bitching to do about my teacher.
She was endless.
The astronomy teacher? The astronomy teacher? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, if you're a professor and you somehow manage to utter a sentence that pisses off the Muslim, the Christian, and the pagan polytheist, they're all sitting in the same row where we all look at each other, go, what the fuck, and then stare at you like you have personally offended me on the grounds of my religion. How dare you?
You're doing something wrong.
You're an asshole, and you should maybe go back to teaching school, because how do you... anyways. Professors, respect... It's okay for you not to have a religion, but please respect people that do. Please don't be an asshole. Don't be an asshole. That is my life advice to all y'all this week. Go forth and do not be assholes.
Be good peoples.
Yes. Be good peoples. Alright. I adore every single one of you. I'm Nani.
I'm Teddy.
And this was Spoken Ink on Air. See you next week.